The land of Eos is a place fraught with danger, and the young Prince Noctis and his crew are pretty inexperienced in combat when the game first boots up. Living out the trunk of a car and travelling from campsite to survive can be a difficult task for sure, but we've assembled some handy hints to make sure that you, Noct and the Crownsguard, can survive everything the beautiful but harsh world of Eos throws at you. Combat can be overwhelming when you've got a million different enemies on screen all at once wailing on you with magic and claws and God knows what else. If you can pick one enemy off and phase behind them with square or X, you'll be able to pull off a blindside. At its base, a blindside will always do 1.5 times as much damage as a regular attack, and leaves enemies susceptible to critical hits. The more blindsides you land, the higher rating you'll net in stealth at the end of the fight, and the more experience points you'll get. And the more experience points you get, the more powerful you'll be. It's always worth doing. One of the most lamented things about the game is the time it takes to get around. Granted, this can sometimes be awkward, but there's a little known trick that can help you minimise the time you spend travelling on foot. Once you click in the left stick to sprint as Noct, a stamina bar will deplete above him. Watch the bar, and as it runs down to the S part, hit the stick again. This will give you a speed boost and refill your bar fully, making getting around on foot so much easier. Because the world is so vast, you're going to want to do everything you can to make getting around easier. When charging around on foot doesn't cut it, a Chocobo will. Your bird will level up the more that you ride it too, meaning the longer you spend on it, the more speed and stamina it will have to carry around the world. Level it up enough and the plucky little bird will even be able to help you out in combat. Chocobos aren't available from the start of the game, so we recommend doing the Whiz Chocobo Post mission as soon as you possibly can. Whether it's in one of the fancy restaurants scattered throughout the world or back at the base in your campsite, you're going to want to constantly stuff your face full of food. Why? Because the perks it bestows are game changing. Strength buffs, health boosts, magic invulnerabilities, the benefit list of different meals can be astounding. So if you're having difficulty with a certain mark or certain boss, try cooking a fancy dish beforehand. We promise you'll notice a difference, especially if you're using rare ingredients. Whilst you can have as many main missions and side missions lined up as you want, you can only ever be tied into one hunt at a time. Hunts are where contractors ask you to go out into the wild and dispatch certain foes. Now, we recommend you always have one of these on the go. You'll never know when you'll pass a specific monster's nest, and they're very good places to harvest experience and materials, and they're always handy throughout the game. Doing hunts will also level up a specific hunt bar, and the higher you get in that skill, the more tasty rewards you'll get as well. It's a fact of life that in Final Fantasy XV, you're going to come across enemies and monsters that are infinitely stronger than you. Don't worry though, running away is part of the game, and even if the rest of your team dies a horrible death, as long as Noct can warp to safety and get out of the sphere of influence of some terrifying monster, always indicated by a red barrier on the map, you'll be fine, and everyone will magically come back to life. It's a skill you'll need to use, and use a lot. Every outpost and shop in the game will sell different wares. A lot of these are replicated area to area, but some specific shops will sell more powerful weapons and items, and they're always worth having on hand. Better yet, some vendors will offer you quests, and if you fill their orders, you'll be able to purchase more powerful arms much earlier in the game. The Engineer Sid will also level up some of Noct's signature weapons too, if you seek out specific items from inside the game's dungeons. It's worth making the time to do this, since the power differential for each character can be incredible. Camping is a pretty big part of the game, and whilst it's fun to go and stare at the stars all night, getting into a soft bed under a solid roof is sometimes just what you need. From a gameplay sense, this is true too. Staying at an inn or a proper bed will confer a 1.5 times experience boost to all the stored experience you have. That means if you saved up 20,000 points since your last stopover, this can yield massive benefits. Do note, however, that Ignis won't be able to cook in these situations, so you'll have to order food from nearby vendors, and they don't always have the benefits of Ignis's cooking.
That's it! What's what? I've come up with a new recipe.
There are sections of the game that, after the Day 1 patch, have clips from the Kingsglaive and CGI Omen trailer interspersed into them. The game does stand alone as a story, but if you want a clearer understanding of your objectives and the geopolitical landscape of Eos, do yourself a favour and invest in the extra media. It'll make the whole experience more immersive and enjoyable to you, and you'll actually have some clue as to what's going on in some of the cutscenes. Well, there it is, 9 tips that are going to make your journey through Eos all the more enjoyable, for Final Fantasy newcomers and veterans alike. If you find this helpful or have any tips of your own, please leave them in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.